Toronto versus M80. Let's take a look at the roster first. Toronto Defiant.
And this is the roster handpicked by the Toronto Defiant in the offseason. So much went into this roster. You got someone in Merit as you kind of like out-of-region players joining Sugar-Free, RuPaul, and Vega for one of the most stacked backlines, if not the most stacked backline in the region, of course. Sugar-Free as well, serving this kind of like flex player role, being able to play the Echo, the Genji, the Tracer, just trying to maximize the amount of output you can have from Merit, who's such an amazing ISCAM player that you played with, Jake. No, you coached him.
It's a sick balance here. You've got 3 world champs from the Overwatch League. You got 2 players who are incredibly skilled in Sugar-Free and Vega, but who haven't had the results that I think they're hoping for with their skill level. And so I think that's going to keep this team very hungry through to the end. We even heard from someone, he's still playing with the challenger's mind. You know, he doesn't consider himself the veteran expected to win, you know, just like thinking it'll come to him. No, he's focused, he's grinding, he's locked in on everything he plays, and his flexibility could become crucial in a meta like this, where we're still seeing tons of different swaps, we're still seeing tons of comps come out. But M80 on the other side, this is a seriously fearsome opponent. Hawk in a meta where I think he's going to be able to really leverage his individual skill. Pelican, I mean, talk about flexibility. That's what Pelican has been known for since day one. The guy plays everything. The Reaper is pretty much unmatched. I think he's the best Reaper in the world. But whether it's the Tracer, the Sojourn, Echo, whatever he needs to pull out, he's got it on the elite tier. So DPS lineup incredibly stacked. Hydron, a household name at this point in competitive Overwatch, with UV and Lep to back them up in the backline. Very, very rock solid, especially Lep and the Lucio meta, going to be extremely comfortable here for M80.
All right, Johnny, and we're, of course, going to Samoa as our first map. Toronto gets to pick, and they did pick Samoa. What do you think is the process?
I mean, Casuras has been talking about it on Platchat, on Coachable, other social medias. He's been talking about the coaching documents, how they're putting a lot of effort into this new map pick and ban system. And this right here, they want to avoid maps which they know their opponents are really well practiced on. So banning Lijiang Tower straight off the bat, maybe sensing that that could be a strength for M80. Okay, we'll take you to Samoa instead, where maybe we can find an advantage.
I think that 5-man roster, right, with the incredibly flexible players, I mean, you need to be incredibly flexible to have a true 5-man roster with no subs for Toronto Defiant. But they make it work, and then being able to just, like, you can play anything, so you might as well just never let your opponents get comfortable. You are comfortable with whatever you need to do, and so you're actually much better off throwing a wrench in the works than trying to, like, have some one pocket strength. Like, that's not what makes Toronto great. What makes them great is that they can go to map 5, and no matter what they see, they're gonna feel good. M80 might have a little bit higher top end in a certain comp, but we're gonna have to see. It's gonna be an extremely tough.
I gotta put it this out. Toronto 71%, 29% M80. I think it's gonna be a lot closer. Do you guys agree with this?
I'm saying it right now. I know we're not doing Preds, but I'm going M80. I think it's an M80 3-2. So I favor M80 in this one.
Oh, you're actually doing Preds.
I think this
your favorite
is too
thing,
close
Preds?
to call. I think this is too close to call.
Pick one. No?
I'm not Pred in this. It's too close. It's a coin flip for me. This is a coin flip. I think
That's
both
fair.
teams evenly matched.
Jake's
I think
scared.
Pelican
Jake's
on
scared.
ping.
It's fine.
Danny, come on.
There's still the question, like, even if M80 does
I
lose
know,
this,
yeah.
we could still see them make being look stronger at Dallas on LAN. There's so many unknowns here, but this is a match everyone wants to see. Who's top dog in NA? That's who's established right here in this match.
I mean, I feel like it's gonna be Toronto, but it is definitely hard to decide. Let's ask the caster. We got Jake and Matt. What do you guys think?
Jake and Matt?
Jake and Matt?
All right.
Jack and Matt.
Yep.
Jake and Matt.
There's too many J's here. There's too many J's.
Come on over here, Jake.
I'll be nice to you, Matt. I'll treat you right.
What you say I don't? What the hell? Come on, bro.
Hey, bro, Jake, I believe it. I believe it, Jake. I miss you. I think it would be great.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it would be 99% Jake and then 1%. Oh, wait, that's how it normally works anyway. Oh, my bad. Sorry, Matt.
I mean, you just keep talking. I mean, I don't know what.
You got nothing else to say, bro.
Mitch yesterday, I was like, Mitch is like, how is it? I was like, I don't even know. Jack just keeps talking. He just keeps, you know, he's doing the play-by-play, then he's doing the analysis. I'm surprised you're not doing the listenings. Like when we're doing the listenings, I'm surprised you're not trying to calm with the players.
I'm trying to calm. Hey, get me in there. Get me in the server. I'll be calming. I'll be shouting stuff. It won't make any sense, but I'll be shouting stuff. That'd be fun. All right, M80 versus Toronto Defiant.
You just gotta scream monkey, monkey, monkey a bunch of times and you'll be fine.
Hey, that's how that works. That's how Overwatch comms work. You shout one character and hopefully they die. Fingers crossed. M80 versus Toronto Defiant. M80, Matt, undefeated so far in the bracket. Toronto Defiant, a little bit more of a tumultuous run. They lost a map in round number 1, and then round number 2 had a very close game against Timeless.
Yeah, we've definitely seen them challenged a little bit more than I think people expected. Where, you know, M80, they've kind of breezed on through, so to speak, kind of going through the competition here. So I think I'm really looking at the tank battle between these two teams. We saw someone run a lot of the Sigma the other day. It seemed like what they preferred to kind of go towards, but they weren't able to make it work like all of the time. Hawk, we've seen him play just about everything. And if they run this Sigma, maybe you see Hawk try to play this Winston. The desk was talking about the other day, and I completely agree. At this point in Overwatch's cycle, if you're going to play tank, you need to be able to play Winston at an extremely high level. And Hawk has put the time in. Let's see if it pays off here.
It always wraps around back to Winston at some point. We always end up in a Winston meta. And honestly, I'm not complaining. I never will. The DPS matchup is also kind of scary, and like Jake was saying on the desk too, Merit is just an absolute monster on Sojourn, and pretty much any pick he ends up taking. I'm going to chase Merit out though, as I call him. He's a good player, but not as good as Hawk's dive apparently. Nice little jump onto the front line. No real defensive countermeasures there, deployed by Toronto Defiant, and they end up losing the point.
Yeah, it just seems like Toronto, right? They want to play pretty stationary around this Sigma and maybe try and protect Merit a little bit more. But with how much burst damage there is in the game, it's really difficult to do that. And then also if Merit has to slide away, now he's not even really near the Sigma. So see some more pressure here coming in from M80 as they get control of the point first.
They do. Now someone's going to try and put a little bit of pressure down. No more Rog, might be a go signal for M80. Boop onto Hawk as he falls back down to the point. Nice little Suzu there to keep him alive. That's got to have been a railgun headshot there from Merit to send him so low, but Toronto Defiant struggling to gain ground here on this point. Pretty tough when you have to move your SIG into a position and then into a position where you're just getting pincered by the DPS and tanks of M80.
They walk out of the hut and then they just basically take so much damage onto someone in Merit. They just walk back into the hut and then just walk out and the same type of thing happens again. It's just been 3 or 4 fights. And look at someone, he's kind of like out there, trying to put some damage down. But now the team is so split, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, someone and Sugar Free are alone. Sugar Free might be able to get out with dashes. Oh, but actually, it is Pelican that goes for the overextension. He ends up getting rocked. There's the Flux, should get the connection. He does. Can he follow up with the kill? A couple little spheres thrown in on top, but Ultraviolet is there with the help, with that Suzu, but no support for Hawk now as they were using all their resources to help Hydron out. Toronto Defiant end up finding the flip there. 71% for M80 though, good start.
It feels like that's just an insane rock there from someone. It felt like M80 had control in a lot of that fight. And then once he lands that accretion on the Pelican and then they get that kill, they just are able to push on forward, right? A lot of the players on Toronto Defiant were actually pretty weak at the time, right? Where if he doesn't hit that rock, Pelican probably finds one. They back up to the spawn and it's like kind of final fight territory. So huge play there from someone.
Also got that Primal Rage as well. No support ultimates for M80. They have got to contend with RuPaul's and Vegas. RuPaul does end up taking a headshot from the Railgun Hydron. Does use the overclock. That overhealth from that sound barrier should help them at least survive for the time being. But they didn't end up pressing the issue here. It's actually Merit taking that space on the high ground, hiding behind someone's shield, insta-popping Let, and that should be the fight over.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you see teams typically save the sound barrier for the overclock. The overclock comes out from Merit up on the high ground, turns the corner, just, deletes one player on the opposing team, and then everybody just kind of hightails it out there for M80. And now for Toronto Defiant, you're going to get up to pretty much taking the lead here with this next fight kicking off, and you're going to have this Kitsune rush on the high ground you could use. So they're in a spot now where it's not looking great for the Defiant, but they've kind of flipped things.
Sugar Free trying to find the stick on the Hydron there. Couldn't quite land it, ends up backing off to the Mega Health Pack. Lep in a whole heap of trouble right now, needs immediate bailout, but unfortunately the banks aren't there. Ultraviolet using that rush on the point. The rock thrown in from someone, and as UV just chunks away at the front line using that increased rate of fire in the Kitsune rush, just pushes someone all the way back, and the supports can't really say anything at all. They have to bundle onto the point to try and help someone, but no one is there for Toronto Defiant, and that'll be Pelican with the pulse bomb, and they can just play super far up now if they choose to, Matt, as there's only one fight in it now. It's a Queen.
And they're going to go with Queen on the other side. Yeah, so they're going to kind of... Queen is actually pretty decent against, Winston. I think Queen probably excels the most against, Winston and even, Reinhardt in certain situations. It looks like Hydron takes some shots there, but this feels like a pretty desperate attempt here at the end to get them to going for Toronto.
The neutral on the point definitely feels better with the Queen map, but yeah, they're not going to be able to find too much, especially in the front line. Pulse-Bomb to someone, had to use the shout, that amp, everything kind of thrown in to keep someone alive. Pelican just permanently sticking to the Jungle Queen right now, just trying to make sure she can't actually get any like space on the point at all. And okay, Hydron just kills 3, sure thing. M80 should just be able to walk away with this round now, as there's only a couple of people left. Drupal tries to get onto the point, same with Sugar Free, and Hydron just finishes that one out with a 5K.
Well, it's just so much area, you know, for someone to cover on the Queen, and it's not like there's a real stationary target on the side of M80. So, like, kind of crossing the gap even before then, right? You know, the pulse bomb comes in from Pelican, takes like a ton of damage. Typically, how we see like with the Orisa, right, where sometimes if it's difficult for her to, you know, cross space, she kind of just falls over. I mean, Queen doesn't have any like armor, right? So even more punishing there in that type of situation where. Looks like Toronto wants to potentially go back to these Sigma-based comps as M80 hovering over the Orisa here. So for whatever reason, Toronto, at least from what we've seen so far, seems to not want to play the Orisa. Maybe they feel like the Sigma is just a little bit more versatile, better in the long run. But I mean, we've seen a lot of teams have good success with Orisa.
Yeah, Orisa does seem to be at the forefront of the meta right now. I guess with the Sigma though, Matt, when you do get the point, you can make the rotations to the high ground. It's pretty easy to kind of set your Sojourn up for success, but it's going to be tough, especially as a lot of Orisa comps right now, they just kind of want to run at you, right? That was close. Mero almost dunked in the drink there.
Close. The Sigma can also play a little bit more like isolated, like on their own than the Orisa. The Orisa kind of needs the team around to, you know, really just push in, make plays, where the Sigma can kind of take off angles, play a little bit more on their own. But with the style of play that's going on right now, it feels like even with like Maga, right, everybody's kind of playing very clumped up group together.
M80 haven't made their grand maneuver just yet. No rushing into the backline, just content with actually just capping the point, forcing Toronto to find a way, especially when that Sigma shield is down and maybe the grasp or the rock has been used already. It's pretty much a good time for M80 to push in. Speaking of which, Fortify used. There's the rock as well for someone. Slowly building up towards that flux, but M80 are just bleeding the time right now. You can see how much damage as well someone has done compared to Hawk. Pulse on from Pelican going a little bit wide. Looks like they want to try and make a move now, but they've got to be careful. Someone has that flux in his hand. If they group up, surely it's a death sentence. And with Pelican dead in a 4v5, make that a 5v3. M80 still want to go for this. A high noon plus that sound barrier as well. Hydron's going to have to click some serious heads to win this fight, but it's not to be. It's a complete team wipe there almost for Toronto Defiant as they regain control of the point and only using the Kitsune rush.
And I gotta feel like M80 probably thought that they could get Toronto to invest the sound barrier there, but like in a 3-on-5, there was no way they were gonna do that. And now Toronto, I mean, they are in a great spot to be able to take the lead here. I mean, only 39% there for M80. Terror Surge here available for Hawk, so we'll see if they can get him into the backline and maybe get a big use of that ultimate. So it's really all M80 is going to have to work with here, but a sound barrier on the other side. I mean, it's going to be difficult.
Oh, Pelican's in trouble, forced to recall, didn't want to contend with that third shot thrown at him, and yeah, Hawk, even with that Fortify up, it's still a whole heap of damage. And yeah, but the problem is, Matt, with getting that Terror Surge in the back, they've got the sound barrier, they've got speed, they've got the move, they've got everything, right, to try and stop Hawk from actually executing on that plan. And the way these fights have been going, they're very slow. So Toronto Defiant, this is working in their comp's favor.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to give up HP just to get into the back line, and then the opposing team is going to even have more survivability with a sound barrier as well, right? So you're just in a really bad situation here if you're M80, where you almost want to take a fight rather quickly and then, you know, kind of come back with another, you know, last-ditch effort.
Oh, maybe waiting for a pick. That was a body shot onto Merit there with that railgun. Here comes the Terror Surge, but there comes the Pulse Bomb. He just stands there, twiddles the spear a little bit. Easiest stick of his life for Sugar Free, and then they just kind of peace out. Really rough stuff from M80 so far, and it looks like they want to try and make a change to this last fight. They're going to the Winston now.
Yeah, and I like the Winston swap, right? The Winston worked out pretty well on point 1. I actually even liked Cassidy at the start for M80 with like the effective range of Cassidy on this particular point, like even kind of just making it really difficult on Pelican. But see if M80 can get anything going here, trying to farm up the Kitsune rush before they go in.
Rush available for each side though, and that's going to be not the worst of their worries for M80. This flux from someone could really just put the nail in the coffin, especially if the DPS from M80 do end up stepping up. Already pretty low as Hawk actually dodges out of the way. The Suzu there jumps straight past it. Sound Barrier to counteract that flux as Pelican pushes on forward. Pulse Bomb in hand as M80 do find the flip here. They end up just trading a couple of ults back and forth. Still the rush available from Toronto Defiant, so they could just walk in almost for free here.
Yeah, I think that's the idea here for Toronto, right? They disengage, hold on to their Kitsune rush.
There's
even if they're giving up the point, it's not a big deal.
Hawk's dead. Hawk's already dead. There was no follow-up there from M80. You can see all the DPS on the high ground, the supports away at the back. Hawk tried to create some space for the front line, but was unable to do so. And with the overtime ticket in, Hydron setting himself up for a slide onto the point to try and get another touch. Hawk is back on the Doom Fist. He does end up getting rocked, but they should be able to get at least one more touch here. Someone going pretty low in the corner, but Merit with the overclock. I mean, there's nothing that M80 can really do. Merit and Sugar Free take over that final part of that round, and we go into a third one. That was a struggle for M80 to get much done.
Yeah, and it feels like if they would have known that they're going to continue to kind of run the Sigma, they may have actually started off on the Winston yet again, right? I know as the Winston was really good on the first point. So they start off with the Orisa-based composition with a Cassidy. They try to take high ground, they get control, and everything's all well and good. But that one fight where they end up investing that sound barrier, trying to get it out from Toronto Defiant and Vega, and he holds on to it, and everything kind of goes Toronto Defiant's way after that. So we go to a final point here on Samoa. M80 hovering the Orisa, and then Toronto Defiant, they're going to play Winston. So we know how good someone is on this hero. I mean, he's great on all the tanks, right? But this feels like, something that Toronto Defiant should be able to play at a really high level.
Yeah, I mean, very much known for his Winston play. Champion after all.
But do you like the Winston into Orisa?
Yeah,
like that's I think probably the thing here. Like maybe you thought they were going to come out and play Winston of their own, right? So you mirror it where Winston versus Orisa, the Orisa has so much great survivability.
It is so much more execute heavy, and so much more coordination heavy too, to force out a cooldown from one of the supports or one of the DPS and then go for the dive with the Winston. It's much harder to pull off than the Orisa comp, that is for sure. And M80 making it sting a little bit as they end up capping the point first, but at least they've traded here. Merit finds Hydron across the map as Sugar Free just tickles down the backline, actually forces the Suzu. Now's the perfect time for someone to go in, but they're under half HP. But I mean, it doesn't matter when you got Merit on the roster, apparently. A railgun from across the map yet again just nails Leb, and M80 lose the point.
I mean, we saw yesterday, with like PGE, right, how good a Sojourn could be to just kind of like turn the tides of certain fights and things. And even though M80 gets the point first, I mean, 2 railgun shots, takes 2 players down right away, and there's nothing you can do about that. As Hydron now switches over and plays the Cassidy, so this is really defensive here against the Toronto Defiant. So this is like, you really want to punish someone or Sugar Free here.
Yeah, or even Merit, right? Can't use that slide when you get hit with a magnade. You can't use much else, to be honest with you. That hinder is just such a frustrating thing to kind of deal with. But the Cassidy definitely a little bit more vulnerable. Gets a little bit damage resistant when he rolls, but hasn't got that slide. You can see the target already is Hydron. Suzu early usage, and Sugar Free follows that with a pulse bomb. Almost instantly after that, Suzu just disappears, and Merit's in the kill feed again, because of course he is. Ultraviolet pretty low, TP's away at 1 HP. Can he survive? No, he cannot. Toronto Defiant, they do lose someone to a pulse bomb, but M80 struggling still. Toronto Defiant, their dive, especially with how proactive they're being, Matt, is trumping M80 right now.
Yeah, I mean, you say that Hydron can kind of get like the nade off and the hinder, right? But I feel like sometimes you have to use it so early, and if it doesn't hit, you feels like you're just kind of screwed. You're just sitting in the middle of nowhere, where Orisa has not been used the best in terms of like these kind of defensive comps. It's really like the aggression. So someone jumps in, pops Primal straight away. That's the Kitsune rush, though.
Yeah, it is, but it is going to put them on point, and that's a big ultimate to use as well, that Primal Rage. Oh, he's back in. Ends up getting speared. There's the sound barrier, actually. Maybe a little bit too scared of this overclock, and I would be too, to be fair with you. A later sound barrier from Vega here as Merit is just trying to find an angle on the rest of Toronto Defiant, as with 10% to go. This is last fight, and I don't think M80 have got anything to say. 19% to 100 here. Toronto Defiant running away with this one. Where are M80? MIA currently, as Toronto end up switching up comps on them once again. Take the map. This dive is looking absolutely sublime. Toronto take map 1.
Yeah, and it also feels like when you have the Sojourn on your team versus just really kind of like anything else, maybe if you're going to play like some of the sim-based things that we see with Maga, it feels like if you don't have Sojourn, you're at just like a massive disadvantage. It's almost like, not having like a Lucio with the way that you see Merit there slide around the corner and just use, 2 railgun shots and basically just kill Hawk. I mean, he just can't do anything in that position. So when you have a character that can put that much burst damage down onto tanks with how important tanks are to just kind of like eat space and position at the moment, feels like almost a must pick.
Yeah, look how many times Merit started off the fight with a kill. And I like your reference as well to PG yesterday. Yeah. It's just like, well, if I just get a railgun kill at the start of the round or start of the fight, like, you can't do much. Like, who cares? What, you want to fight as 4v5? Like, sure thing. Like, we'll take that fight any day of the week. Sojourn, yeah, it's such a must pick right now. And when you got someone like Merit on your team, dude, I mean, the guy is just an absolute monster. And the flexibility as well, even on this map, playing the... I mean, they did play the Queen a little bit, but playing the Sigma, then swapping to the Winston, there's a reason why someone was MVP last year, right? And there's a reason why he's one of the best to ever do it on the tank role. M80 right now, struggling to get much stuff done, but I've said it once and I'll say it again, Control, fraudulent game type. It always ends up going, it's always a bit more coin tossy than most, Matt. So we'll see how
yeah, just throw out all the results from Control
exactly.
In all time, right? Just, yeah, that's the way to go about it. I will say, I think both of these tanks, like Hawk and someone, like, they're kind of the epitome of what you need from tanks in like Overwatch 2, I think.
Right.
I know as we've kind of gone on throughout Overwatch 2's like life cycle, you can't just be like, okay, well, I play all of the main tanks, and then like what, you have a completely different player who comes in and plays all the other stuff. With how much tanks like call and its team synergy and coordination timing, if you can have one player just take up those slots, you just, I feel like, are going to see way more success. As stats, indicate this was a Toronto Defiant blowout. I would say round 3 definitely helped aid in that.
Yeah, 11 KDA to 0.85. Quite the differential, if I do say myself. Say so myself. That'll do. That'll work. M80, remember they went undefeated in terms of maps as well, coming through the upper bracket. Their first time they've been handed a map loss here against Toronto Defiant, who have had a bit of maybe some tougher tests. I mean, Timeless, they went to a map number 5, but it feels like Toronto, in a way, have just been leveling up every single day, and also Timeless are pretty nasty, to be fair, in their own right, but every single week I see Toronto, it feels like they're getting better.
I mean, I wish we could even have students of the game. I don't know how you do, a final day with 5 teams and only, like a bracket, but man, students of the game was sick yesterday as well.
They were, yeah.
So this is an M80 map pick. Which is interesting because like this is actually a pretty good Sigma map. Like if you have an idea that Toronto potentially wants to play something like that, but Toronto will actually opt for the Winston here on defense. So the other day when we casted them, it was pretty much like, it felt like a lot of just like Sigma based compositions and then maybe some Orisa in the mix against Timeless. But today it looks like kind of switching it up, willing to play a little bit more Winston.
I do really like the Winston on the defense as well, because you can just catch him on the cross, and that's what a lot of teams ended up kind of failing at on their offenses, was actually just getting across the back alley or just behind the little bus shelter. It was pretty rough. Looks like M80 are going to run the Orisa instead, so expect a small flank here. Just try and get into the mega health pack room and then push out onto the point. We'll see how Toronto Defiant can kind of intersect them and hopefully dissect them as well. M80 just slowly but surely making their way through the laundromat.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is to watch like Hawk. Like, is he able to cross over towards this side here where we see Hydron playing from, with enough HP? Looks like gets there pretty safely. Hydron now actually moves his way onto the point, so some control here already for M80, but there's Mary with a shot on the Ultraviolet.
He's just so good. Ultraviolet down, and the rest will crumble. M80 gonna have to go again. I'm surprised they didn't leave Hawk a little bit longer there, but nice little flick from there. A little 45-degree ang. As M80 going for reset. Are they gonna change though? I doubt they changed from the reset, to be fair though.
Everybody, so they're gonna go Diva. So this is a little bit more, Hawk obviously is an off-tank player traditionally, right? This feels a little bit kind of like safer in terms of the pick. And also the D.Va pretty decent against like Winston. I mean, D.Va pretty good at just dueling just about any character in the game. Defense Matrix is trying to get across, but that's pretty much all the usage of it.
Yeah. Oh, you can eat the railguns as well, right? Surely he eats the railguns, please. You got to help your backline. Don't let them die. Sugar Free already got a pulse bomb. Can eat that one too if he's quick with it. You know Hawk is pretty damn sharp with eating ultimates. Merit's already got an overclock though, Matt, or at least 5% towards one. Oh, 5% away. There's the little dive after Hydron takes a few too many bullets. Very quick rush onto the point and into the Mega Health Pack room. They kind of swap sides in this moment. And here's the overclock. Sound barriers coming through from M80 though. Ultraviolet didn't receive any of that over health. And Pelican throwing the pulse bomb just inside the middle of the room. Hawk's pretty low. Ends up is going to have to remech eventually, as the rest of his team are going to fall. And it might just be a little stagger as well. I mean, you might, at this point, this might just be last fight or close to if they stagger him long enough. Toronto Defiant just unwavering in their ability to defend this point. 38 HP. I mean, this sucks. He's going to
go for like a remake here. Like, what do you? No. Yeah. So what? Another 8 seconds off the clock.
Are they going to push? This is so smart. Oh, that's so smart. They push Hydron on high ground. They see him through the train, and it's like it's the easiest kill in the world. Good play from Toronto Defiant there. They end up just basically like forcing one fight. It's one fight now, Matt. 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. Pelican's in the back line, but no ultimate. And Sugar Free, it looks like he knows he's there.
Well, and the Defiant have sound barrier to deal with Hydron's overclock, right? So they put themselves in a really good spot here to potentially get a hold, as it'll be Pelican getting on the point, getting a touch.
Oh, Hydron is instantly dead, yeah. One person to come back and contest, make sure Pelican doesn't get that last 33%, and Lep's already down. I mean, is this it? Is that all they can muster? Toronto Defiant are going to hold them on first. 40 seconds to go. It's going to be a staggered push here, but they demech Hawk, Matt, and he hasn't got remech. He's going to have to just jump back to spawn, swap tank, swap back to D.Va, if he wants to stay there, of course. Maybe just the Winston for Hawk right now. As Toronto look like they're just going to hold first here.
Yeah, I mean, what, you're not going to get a use of a tank ultimate pretty much the entire half here for M80 because of just the great stall, the swapping, and then here that DMEC at the end. So M80 trying to work through the choke. They do only need one tick here, though, Jack.
Oh, my God. I don't think they're going to get that, mate, unfortunately. Nice pulse bomb from Pelican. Oh, my God. The pulse bomb. Sugar Free, Vega dead. Wait a second. Pelican, the savior of M80, lands the double. Someone is still here. Same with RuPaul. RuPaul does have the Kitsune Rush, but someone is dead. RuPaul could maybe do something, but no, with no rush and no help onto someone, somehow Pelican lands the double pulse bomb kill and saves M80 on first.
Yeah, I think it's a pulse bomb onto Vega, and then he's just like rounding the corner, by where that fire truck is, and just ends up, I don't know if maybe Sugar Free blinked into him or he was just kind of playing from there. And then an interesting switch up for M80. They're going to bring out the Maga.
Let's have a look at
so let's take a look at this here. So
it was on the Tracer.
Oh, did he stick on the Tracer? Yeah. Oh, wow.
God, what a beast. What an absolute beast. Yeah, it looks like Sugar Free was like rounding the corner as the pulse attached to him, so didn't have time to get out of the way. And there, like you said, wall riding on Lucio. A little overclock on the high ground. Forcing M80 all the way back. Oh, this ends now. Oh, Hydron has not had a good time with overclocks. It's been rather rough. This rush now used from UV, and Pelican rounds the corner straight into a kunai from RuPaul. That's really rough, and that rush was saved from the previous point. At least RuPaul's was, right? So they've still got that in their back pocket. They really need to use it, but their neutral game right now, Matt, Toronto Defiance, that is, it's just clean.
Yeah, and M80 has like a little bit of a damage advantage, right? With Hawk being able to put down so much damage on the Maga. Cardiac Overdrive is trying to gives a little bit of extra healing to everybody. But Toronto, they're so good at their dive that there's really not an opportunity for Hawk to just kind of like stand there and pump out damage, right? You see constantly having to back up.
3 people from M80 were on the point at that one time, and yeah, they're completely split off from Hawk. We're in Hawk's POV, and Hawk was way out of the fight. He's eventually able to rejoin here, but not after Hydron is killed. Someone is pretty low, but pops the Primal Rage to make sure they stay alive. And everybody right now in the underground. Ultraviolet would be a good target, same with Leb. Has got the sound barrier, but fortunately that would be perfect. Someone still manages to weave his way out of danger. and rejoins the rest of his team. High ground control very much in Toronto Defiant's favor right now as Pelican looks for a pulse bomb.
Yeah, I think he was trying to force sound barrier there as Lep was really low, and then the Primal Rage just to keep himself up.
Nice
as Pelican, nice pulse bomb. That's going to be a Suzu, though, keeping him up.
Yeah, nice pulse bomb, even better Suzu. Pelican going super low, has to back out. Sugarfree's got a pulse bomb of his own now. Hawks in the front line with a cage coming up also. But the idea of Toronto Defiant's comp, they just want to be able to fight split fights. They don't want to fight on this point. They don't want to fight a head-on 5v5, especially against Hawk. That cardiac overdrive just going crazy for the entire team. They stick onto the Magma as the cage comes in. Magma's going pretty low, but doesn't seem to matter whatsoever. RuPaul does take care of Hawk, and Merit's on the high ground, but the rest of his team can't win the fight for him, basically. He was trying to fight and shoot around the cage, but everybody was just bundling on top of the people that were trapped in there. And once again, MET, by the skin of their teeth, managed to cap a point. 1 minute and 15 seconds to go now for third. Actually, not too bad time-wise, Matt, considering their first point cap.
I mean, considering they almost got full health, yeah, I would say this is probably pretty good here if you're M80. And I think that the Magas really paid off as they lose Ultraviolet right away. But the cage fight there is really kind of what ends up winning them, that point. Is they end up with a way earlier sound barrier than Toronto Defiant, right? Vega held on to it for a very long time, was able to get it, pretty late. It's just that cage fight there from Hawk was massive.
Yeah, trapped everybody, and then those barrier walls come up, and Merit can't really do much. Rather unfortunate. They're going to go super early, though, with Merit's railgun. That overclock, the aim from Merit is just something to behold. Sugarfree even started that off with a kill, so very, very fast team wipe there onto M80. And playing up, I, again, really like this. You're burning as much time off the bank as possible, Matt, because you know they had about 1 minute and 20, 1 minute and 25. Now M80 have got one fight to end the map. And look at someone.
Yeah,
look at someone's
make it
positioning.
extremely costly to get that spawn.
Look at someone's positioning. He's down in the underground right now, ready to spring an ambush. Suzu already used for UV as Sugarfree joins someone in this dive into the back line. The Primal Rage has been pulled. He's a little bit on fire, but the Pulse Bomb lands and nails Hydron. Merit kills Pelican. DPS down for M80. Just shock and awe tactics from Toronto Defiant as they manage to hold the payload just under that archway after second.
Yeah, so someone comes from the side, the Suzu forced right away, and then after that, him and Sugarfree just caused chaos in the back line of M80. But considering where M80 was at the beginning of the game, really good offense. I mean, that's about as good as you could ask for, considering you really need, a double pulse bomb from Pelican to even get that first checkpoint. So that play from Pelican still keeps them alive in this map. And then also, I mean, look, you go down 2-0 to a team like Toronto Defiant. I mean, you're in a real rough spot, especially because the next map, New Queen Street, would be a Toronto Defiant. It is their map pick.
Right. Yeah, it looks like they've got every small little answer for them. M80 struggling to get that first point. They managed to get 66% on their first couple of attacks, but that 33% and Pelican really just being the guardian angel of M80, making sure they can push through to that second point. So yeah, it's a rough look for M80 right now, but things can all change, of course, as they go over to the defense. Gonna run the Orisa now.
So the Orisa on defense, maybe you can kind of circumvent this a little bit here, playing the monkey, but it'll be really difficult. Like we see a lot of teams take that left-hand room by the point, right? It'll be very difficult to push out against the Orisa. That's, I think, where it can be very difficult.
Winston start. Okay. Everything. Okay, maybe not. All right. I was going to say everything comes up Winton, but unfortunately, not right now at least. It's going to be Sigma for Toronto Defiant up against the Orisa. Hearing the Orisa shooting, I imagine, then instant swapping.
Yeah, so you can kind of just poke a little bit, right? You're not as reliant as kind of like taking this side room. You can play a little bit more like in the choke train, like bully back a little bit here with that Sigma. So see how someone in Co want to play it.
Oh man, Hydron is having a rough game so far. She's permanently picked off first, but that's also Toronto Defiant kind of focusing one of the main threats on M80 as well. That's not just Hydron randomly going down first, very much like prioritizing the kill onto Hydron. UV dead, that is night and day first point capture for Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, M80, they got it by like the skin of their teeth, and here in Toronto, they just walk in and basically just take it for nothing. Is I know you get that first pick onto Hydron. That is massive. Is now we're going to actually see a Sigma head-to-head. So Hawk, very good, I know, on Sigma. Yeah. Right there, though, you see kind of you lose that Sojourn. It's very difficult. So they see Sigma, they go Winston now. So you see these two teams really just kind of counter-picking each other constantly in the tank.
Oh my, Merrick,
I mean, what do you even do against that?
Disgusting. Pelican was not expecting that. Definitely had recall in that situation too. A little short hop from Merritt kills Pelican, who was trying to play a little bit cheeky.
You know, everybody was complaining about Widowmaker one-shots, right? But then that,
then
they're like,
Sojourn exists.
But Sojourn, you know, I think
Sojourn is cool,
at least she's
though,
gonna build it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Sojourn, she can move really cool.
Exactly, man. Sojourn is cool. Although I do like Widowmaker. I'm a Widowmaker fan, but Sojourn power sliding around,
getting headshots. When you see Sojourn glowing though, like that, I mean, you're in lots of trouble. As it looks like actually Hawk takes a big shot.
It's like you're staring the devil in the eyes when you see a Sojourn glowing with overclock or just a regular rail. Like, you know, death is coming rather swiftly. 4 minutes to go. They're nearing the final checkpoint here as M80 are just getting rolled, and this is a really good play too. Just forcing the rush, forcing kills here, hopefully getting an extra ultimate out or two, but Hydron isolated, ends up going down and forces M80 to try and come back up with something here. They cannot let this point go alone. Pelican, maybe the Guardian Angel. Wings coming out, arising, M80 again. RuPaul ends up going down to a pulse bomb as Toronto Defiant now try and even this one up. Sugar Free gets the stick onto Hawk, but they're bleeding health members of M80 right now without too much support. Eventually, RuPaul, Ultraviolet and Left end up rejoining the rest of the team as Toronto Defiant have to go on the retreat. Still a couple of meters to go though, Matt, and this is still in a dire situation for M80.
I mean, it feels like we're 2 Pelican pulse bombs away, I know, from this map being over pretty much, as he's really kind of kept M80 in it. But yeah, the Sojourn, like when you see her fully charged up with a railgun shot, you know, typically like you'll see Hydron here potentially, right? Like he'll be charged up with a railgun shot, use it, then pop overclock and get another one right away. That's exactly how they burst down on the high ground before.
Hydron down again, Primal Rage pop, left chased down by Sugar Free with the help of someone, and I heard a Gravitic Flux go off, but I'm not sure where it went. And there's the cap. Vega finding it as the entirety of M80 with either dead or distracted. This is a steamroll from Toronto right now. Matt, this is feeling like it's only going to go one way. There's 4 minutes to go, and M80 still have to get back to the point. They've got half a fight, if that.
Yes, Hawk goes over to the Maga, worked out last time here.
Any touches at all? Lep's dead? There's no touches. There's no touches, Matt. Toronto Defiant end up taking Midtown, and M80 are getting blown out right now.
Yeah, I mean, you thought, like we talked about how Toronto was a little bit more of the challenge team kind of coming into this match. It does not look like that at all. I mean, they look so clean. I think look, I mean, Merritt is hitting so many shots. I feel like Hydron hasn't even really been able to even like play the game. It feels like they're just able to collapse and kill him every single time.
He's just permanent.
And if you don't keep him alive, I mean, you're relying on heroics from Pelican to be able to win a fight.
Please, just land another double pulse, Pelican, please. It has been really rough for Hydron, but like I mentioned before, Matt, very much like target prioritization from Sugar Free and someone, just trying to get on top of Hydron and just kind of beat him into the dirt, because as soon as you lose your Sojourn, that's a lot of like damage, obviously, but a lot of that easy pick potential that we see from every single Sojourn right now, getting railguns across the map. So yeah, Hydron having a very much a rough time. We're going to New Queen Street as our next map. Hopefully it's a little closer than this, because yeah, rolling over first in the blink of an eye, and then they barely stopped. I mean, going towards second. Maybe once, maybe half the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the pulse bomb right there from Pelican that really,
saved it. That's kept them in on first point. Like, if he didn't hit that double pulse, Matt, they are not making it to second.
No, and then I mean, gets a pulse bomb on their defense, which they just gets them one extra fight. But I mean, look, if Merritt just does stuff like that, what do you do, right? Because also I would say we haven't really talked about them a ton, but the supports, I think, for the Defiant, RuPaul and Vega having a really great series as well, right? I know the M80's trying to pressure them, force some of these ultimates out, but they're doing such a good job holding on to those for the perfect time.
Yeah, I mean, RuPaul is one of the best North American main sports right now. Not main sports, sorry, just supports. He's flexible. But contending with the back line is one thing, but then contending with the DPS, like Toronto are just so well-rounded as a team. And I mentioned the run-up to this first match was they've just been improving week on week on week on week. And it very much feels like they've not hit even their apex just yet. I mean, they're also, at the moment in time, just playing everything. They can play the Orisa, they can play the Winston, they can play the Sigma if they want. We do have a small listening as well. Let's see what Toronto had to say.
Yeah, I can go.
I get the drive. Go, let it go. Or make it, go to me. Go to me.
Journey, go. Journey,
Done.
Lucio. Turn it to me, or Suzu.
Nice. There we go. Easy. It's just another day in the books. Honest Overwatch is being played by Toronto right now.
And I mean, it does not look like they're letting up anytime soon, right? New Queen Street feels like they have a lot of different options, right? You can play Winston here, you can play Sigma, you can play, Orisa. I wonder if M80 would dabble with the Mauga, like again, like, Mauga versus Winston, like potentially that's a. We saw them play the Diva. We saw them play the Mauga. I think Mauga might be a little bit, I think Diva in terms of like maps that have like verticality and whatnot, probably obviously better against, Winston if you don't want to match. But on a map that's pretty flat, like New Queen Street, like maybe you can make the Mauga work.
Maybe. But then I would also fear that Toronto just picks Orisa and just kind of runs over them. I think Orisa's just getting better and better as days go by as well.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of Mauga dabbling here and there, but I do feel like Orisa is just straight up better at this current moment in time. Just her utility and being able to stay alive require less support as well. So, I mean, maybe they end up defaulting back to the Mauga, but they're going to need to find something. They're going to need to find some secret source, a special comp, or just anything right now, because they're down 2-0. Toronto are on match point. They're going to head to the finals, Matt, if M80 aren't careful. This is their first 2 maps that they've lost, that being M80, in this upper bracket run. Let's go to New Queen Street, though. We'll see if Toronto Defiant in Toronto can make this happen and just give us a clean 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, I feel like, a lot, that Orisa feels like it's the safest option, the most well-rounded. The Ramatra would be an interesting pick here. I know potentially a little bit of you're like, oh, maybe a special comp pocket pick. You're thinking more for M80, but someone could come in here, play the Ramatra. And I kind of like this for M80. Like, I think play that Mauga, like potentially if they're going to be playing that like Winston-based comp, see if you can push them over towards something like Orisa.
Well, someone is just a flex god. He really is. He can play literally everything. Yeah, just running the Ram now. And Mauga for M80. Okay, so defaulting back to Mauga. We'll see what can be done. A lot of this battle will be on the sidelines between Sugar Free and Pelican. Almost a straight up 4v4 and then a 1v1 happening across the map. Positioning taken quite aggressively by M80, but they're going to have to. They can't easily take position with Mauga, not against the Ram. He could put the shield up and help his team push forward.
Hydron had a railgun shot. It looks like they just kind of like backed out. You see just firing at anything, just trying to keep that, charge high. It will be M80 in control of the bot here first, and I think it's just more Toronto trying to figure out how to engage on this type of comp.
Yeah, they really want to just get in there in some sort of way. Wait for Hydron to maybe get a pick right. A lot of the time it's just Sojourn's getting railgun shots across the map. But Hawk does want to separate the team with the Mauga. That Vortex is going to be fairly annoying for the Mauga to kind of deal with too. Worth keeping in mind. Just kind of getting slowed down like that, your head hitbox is going to get just chewed up. Merit trying to match on the high ground too for Toronto Defiant. They're kind of rapping on them right now, Matt. It looks like someone's under a little bit of pressure. Needs a little bit of assistance. I heard that Suzu go off. Same the one onto Hawk. Merit and someone end up trading as Hydron picking up a big kill onto Sugar Free now as Hawk finds that mega health pack room, but Merit is just filling him full of energy bullets. I love that animation, just running into the wall, getting the short stomp. And there we go, M80 winning the fight, getting the bot moving.
I was gonna say, for a second there, someone was hovering the Doomfist. I was like, we have seen how this plays out into the Maga. That is not it. He will go over to Orisa here. So I feel like that's the answer. So I think Maga wins out against characters, like the Winston, like a character like a Doomfist, right? That time, Ramatra, you see how difficult it is for Ramatra to stay alive, even with block, as now the Orisa comes into playing Merit on an off angle here, uses overclock. That's going to be the Kitsune rush used by M80, though. And now the late sound barrier.
Oh, he needed beat so bad, but Vega was 3% away. Someone in a whole heap of trouble right now. There's the sound barrier pretty late, but they've managed to isolate Hawk. Has to use the overrun to get away. Playing on the Kitsune rush now is the Toronto Defiant. Hawk eventually goes down just to a solitary boop of Vega. Sugar Free staying alive on the point, determined not to give up this checkpoint either. And now the target focus is Hydron, straight in the back line. Sugar Free hits a full clip, hits the recall, waits for RuPaul to finish them up. And there we go. There is the wipe. The bot in their control now as they attempt to move the barricade.
Look, this is the best look, though, that we've seen from M80 throughout this series, probably, thus far. I mean, Samoa obviously pretty close at the start, right, when they're playing the Winston into the Sigma, but after that, Toronto started to adjust. I think this Maga is the thing that's given Toronto the most, pause, so to speak, right? It will be M80 in the lead here as Toronto starts to get that barrier moving, but they don't really have anything to work with. Everybody dumped just a lot of ultimates in that previous fight, really trying to prevent M80 from getting that checkpoint.
It's going to be a tough time actually securing hold of the bot here as well, because they have Cage, they have the Malgarol, right? Let's get an M80 listening and see how they want to approach this fight.
Push her 3. Oh, come on. Wait, where's the one? Turn. That's turn weak. Live. Secure. Turn, Philly. Point. Take. I'm chasing. I'm with you. Happy speed. I'm on car. Keep up. I'm back. Feed out. Alright, wrist ult is their win con. I'm playing wide. Okay, wrist Kiri.
Orisa is their win con. They know exactly how they want to approach the fight, and good overextension there. Not dying, just saying don't die, right? Just making sure they can get up and maybe punish RuPaul. There's a lot more win conditions than they maybe expect here as RuPaul lays down the rush. Same with the UV though, and here comes the cage fight, but Hawk is strapped straight up against that bot on the wall. The sound barrier comes in for Leb, and as someone just spins to win, doesn't find a single bit of winning there, unfortunately. No kills and not even an inch of damage by the looks of it. M80 kind of running away with this game now, Matt. Checkpoint in their hands, and they burn a lot of ults from Toronto Defiant's ult bank too.
And this is where Toronto Defiant, you feel like you have to kind of invest heavy into these fights to prevent even more progress, but that doesn't give you anything moving forward. And let's see Doomfist now here. I think when we casted the other day, I think this is like what got them into trouble, right? Is like playing against these Maga-based compositions still, where it feels like, someone, he's going to have to hightail it out of there. Really difficult to keep him up.
Man, that was props to Vega there, keeping Merit alive. Just setting him up for these shots. Oh, he just makes it look so easy. There you go. There's the bot back in their favor, Matt. But for how long? Only 18 meters, and M80, they have checkpoint 75, so checkpoint and then some. Pelican come in with a pulse. Hydron so close to an overclock. Vega's sound barrier, they've just got to beat in, try and find the kill onto Hydron here.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? For Toronto Defiant, you have this huge sound barrier advantage. Like, you have to give that sound barrier, especially make sure it hits someone, as he's going to take basically all of his health already before he even gets in there. To try and make a play. Otherwise, I feel like you're just going to keep getting stuck in this mid-map. So that's a sound barrier. Let's see if they can get a kill. Hawk is really low.
They've stolen the bot. Okay, luckily, New Queen Street, you can get the bot back pretty quickly, but still, reducing the time they have to actually push here. They do use that sound barrier, Matt, like you said, to try and win this fight. Someone is pretty low, should be receiving heals in just a moment as RuPaul does teleport in. However, still pretty damn, you have to get these kills. He ends up actually trading, of all things. RuPaul couldn't heal him up quick enough. They were rumbling in that room there. M80 just had damage and had the presence and the healing to just keep everybody up. And now RuPaul just cowering for his life. I say cowering. He's taking the 1v1 versus Hydra right now. He can TP away to the high ground, but they haven't got a frontliner here. Hawk is back on the point.
But it feels like that was the fight they needed to win. Here's going to be Kitsune Rush here on the high ground. It's going to just have everybody on M80 hightail it, but that time they end up killing Hawk early. But that was just like the last fight, right? They used Sound Barrier, they get Hawk early, but they weren't really able to get much progress. And now this time, though, they will, as they have control of that bot moving forward. Still going to be behind by a lot, though.
That kill was massive, too. Killing UV there is really nice. Not going to be able to get back and heal the team. It's going to be a tough fight for M80 if they want to go in. They're going to have to commit Sound Barrier if they really want to go right now. UV is just spawning. A quick swift step to the rest of the team should be good. Pelican still in the back line here, Matt. Sugar Free does have Pulse Bomb. Doesn't want to go for anything cheeky, though. No BM here, as Hawk is back in action. And there's the Sound Barrier.
So, I mean, that Sound Barrier is huge, right? You just charge down Merit. For a second there, I was about to say, I was like, I wonder if, you know, M80, you think about going Orisa, right? Orisa really good against the Doom, right? I think just to kind of force someone back off onto something else, and then, you know, maybe go back to that Maga. But Pulse Bomb dropped in, not going to connect with anything. That's Overclock and Pulse Bomb there from the Toronto Defiant. There's someone probably just holding on to that Meteor Strike just to give himself a little bit more survivability.
Man, Hydron. It is Saving Private Hydron right now. Had a rough go of it in Midtown, but Suzu, all the heals that he could possibly want is being thrown his way. Sugar Free ends up going down to a kunai. There from UV. Hydron again. You got Cardiac Overdrive plus the Suzu. Hydron stays alive. If Hydron stays alive, he can just carry on getting good positions and keep on finding kills. And Merit's on the wrong side of the map right now. I mean, Toronto Defiant, they're so scattered, they're so split. A Sound Barrier does end up hitting 5, and eventually they find the target they desire. A stick from Pelican is good for 1, but they do end up trading their life for it.
Yeah, but a Sound Barrier just to get back to the bot, right, with 1:25 on the clock, feels quite rough. As you see, I know both players there for M80 just get onto its stall for just a brief second. So what, you're still going to have another fight probably over the checkpoint here, and for M80, you're going to have this cage fight, right? So maybe you can actually catch someone before he uses that Meteor Strike and punish him.
Yeah, this Meteor Strike, very much used to kind of engage and then just get out of there. You heal, obviously, when you're in a Meteor Strike right now.
Wait, what?
M80 just giving up the point. Although Pelican died there, Matt. Maybe they were expecting Pelican to kind of jump in and get the touch there briefly. 50 seconds to go here. So it will be close to last fight, if not the last fight, depending on how quickly M80 want to take this.
I think M80 just trying to build up Kitsune Rush as well. They probably have a good idea that Defiant have it on their side, so may as well match.
Killers all M80 really need. Nice Suzu there, but it doesn't matter. Lep ends up going down. Pelican too. The fight's already over and it barely even begun. Toronto Defiant managed to turn around what looked like an M80 win. A 3-0 and pure determination, grit, and just pure power from Toronto Defiant might just win it all for them. 88 meters and counting now, as with only 10 seconds to go, M80 have got to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have another fight here for M80. They're going to have to get back onto the point, get a contest. Hawk gets quite low, probably trying to dodge the Meteor Strike that expects to come in, baits it out to the side.
But Pelican's down, Hydron dead. There's the cage fight, is straight on the point, but they're not worried about the point. We'll kill everybody around you, Hawk, before we deal with you. UV and Lep are alive. Hawk is receiving a lot of healing here, but now is the chance to take down the beast. Hawk is just getting so much damage layered into him, but a Sound Barrier from M80 might have just flipped this one around. Mera manages to get the slide away. The pulse one from Pelican goes wide, but it doesn't matter. As long as they've got control of the bot here and push on it as well, they're in good stead. Toronto, they got a Sound Barrier coming up though, Matt, in 7%.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing here. They back out. They realize they don't have to fight here. You back out, you have this Sound Barrier, and then you take this next fight on their terms.
Sound Barrier from Vega, straight in the back, and Hydron's the target once again. The checkpoint has been reset, but it doesn't matter. Lep down, Hydron to follow. Toronto Defiant laying in wait in the midpoint of the map. They knew they had the Sound Barrier advantage. M80 fall flat and get knocked to the lower bracket as Toronto Defiant will secure their place in the finals.
Man, if there's one way to kind of stamp, you know, when everybody's talking about like who is the best team in NA and whatnot, and maybe this is a toss-up. If there's one way to kind of solidify that you are the best team in North America right now, that is one way to do it. Is Toronto gets I don't think anybody would have said a 3-0. Like I could see, 3-1. Like you're gonna keep it close, right? But you know, especially with kind of how Midtown, and then here at the end, right? M80 had a big lead and then just kind of got ran through there towards the end. Is Toronto, they clutched up in a big way.
Yeah, massive clutch out from Toronto Defiant. It felt like an M80 game, especially when they got checkpoints so early.
Yeah.
And then they were able to roll on, get like, what, 75 meters or something? Like, and then it's like, okay, this is going to be really tough for Toronto now. But they're just winning these small fights. And also, shutting down Pelican 2 on the flank was a big win for Sugar Free 2.
Huge.
Desk, how did you feel about that game? A 3-0, like, and Midtown going that one-sided? Like, that is ridiculous stuff.
I don't think anyone would have expected a 3-0, just like you guys said. It's a huge statement from Toronto Defiant, just really solidifying how, like, or showing everyone how strong they are.
Just the way they did it too, like with someone just getting the tank advantage all the time. It was brutal to watch from M80 because you're just like, Hawk doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, always someone's in the advantage, right? Always the swap giving him a chance. I mean, I feel like the Malgo versus Doom can really go both ways, if not the other way. I think that cage fight can be really hard to deal with. But you saw how well Toronto Defiant was able to move around the map, just constantly evading the threats of Malga and staying in the series, even when maybe push looked like it was going M80's way. There were moments for M80, I feel like Pelican, little bursts of life with those pulse bombs. I mean, that kept them alive. Like, time and time again, Pelican was injecting...
Midtown?
Yeah, exactly. Injecting life back into the team and giving them some hope and some belief. But, I mean, Merit was lights out this entire series. Merit, Sojourn, this is elite. This is vintage Merit. I mean, when this guy is on, he looks like one of the best players in the world. And that's because, surprise, surprise, he just is. He's that guy. He's that guy.
It felt like
Look at this.
Toronto Defiant was just in control of the entire series, start to finish. Just perfect play from someone. I mean, this is why he was the MVP. This is why Florida Mayhem won the Overwatch League last year. It's because you're always able to get ahead in these compositions. And in Overwatch 2, you know, you're playing 5 versus 5. It just gives you a huge leg up. There were individual moments from M80. I think that Hydron had a really tough series overall. And generally, we talk about Hydron. He pops off, great hit scan player. But it just wasn't this series, and it was all about Merit in this one.
I feel like team-wise, there's just such a full court press coming in out of Toronto Defiant, right? Especially look at the supports. I feel like Vega and RuPaul look noticeably tighter and more together. The team just more synergistic in a lot of these moments. Fewer mistakes coming out. And then, man, I mean, like, I don't even want to criticize Hydron after the series. I think he played just fine on the Sojourn. I just feel like Merit hit a whole new level here. I feel like this is the matchup he's been waiting for. This is the matchup undoubtedly they've been thinking about the most in terms of all the teams in NA. And honestly, if anything, I bet Toronto is surprised that this went as easily as it did. I think M80 gonna have to lick their wounds and refocus. In the end now, it's about making it to Dallas, right? Like, honestly, I feel like M80, if they're the ones coming back in the grand finals, mentally, it'll be pretty rough to recover from a beatdown like this. I mean, this push was close, but the first two were not. And then to get a lead on push and then losing the comeback. Merit player of the match. Honestly, no surprise.
No surprise.
If you were watching this
hands down.
This was absurd. This was an out of control.
Jake said that in the green room where he was like, yeah, he should put God hands on his name, and everyone would agree.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, Merit just, he's different. Look at this guy. Absolute freak of nature.
And he did this, the amazing thing is he did this all throughout the whole series.
Every time we go to his POV.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even just like a one pop-off moment. It was just throughout the whole series, he was just continuing this amazing performance. It was just jaw-dropping to watch.
I mean, top 3 Sojourns in the world, you probably go proper lip, Merit.
Merit is in the top 3, yeah. No question for me. I mean, he's world champ, and he just puts up a performance like this. This is just business for Marin, you know, just like another day at the office. Like, that's what's really crazy is we talk about consistency, how important that is on hit scan, how hard it is to achieve. And Marin, I mean, God, look at what's going on. I mean, he is swarmed in this fight. They know he's the threat. They are coming for him. He doesn't care. Let them come.
Absurd. Just absurd.
Do you guys feel like, I mean, now that Toronto is moving on to the grand finals, like, do you think they're worried about any other teams? Should they be worried about any other teams?
I mean, you can't sleep on the other teams, right? You lost 2 maps to Timeless. Timeless had a chance in that series, even though Toronto and Circuit Reality closed things out, was really looking good. I wouldn't be worried about if I was Toronto Defiant, because I know that someone is such a good tank player in making those hero adaptations that we're always going to be in a position to succeed. There's never a question of like, oh, what do we do? Like, how do we fight prep? Like, it's a complete team. They're always in control of the game, and they're never making a step wrong. So if I'm Toronto Defiant, I'm not too worried, actually.
I mean, you give a coach like Casares and the team like this with all their flexibility in the roster, you give them a couple days, right? And that's all it really takes to where from the last match against Timeless, I feel like the swaps were a little bit more in contention. Toronto didn't always have the leg up that it feels like they often do, having someone on the team. And yet here today, it just like they looked ice cold. There weren't really any questions. It felt like their answers were prepared. And so I got to give props to the Toronto Defiant organization, Casares as head coach. They looked really well drilled today, in contrast to previous where it was a little bit more reliant on individual pop-off.
I mean, great stuff from Toronto Defiant. Let's take a look at the winning comms moment, because I'm pretty sure there was a lot of great things happening over there as well. Nice, crispy, clean comms.
Yeah,
Well,
staying focused to the end. Staying focused.
Good
yeah.
focus fire.
Yeah.
There's always a moment at the end when you realize you've won, and then people start to have a little bit more fun. But but for Toronto Defiant, they were clearly focused up there to the end. Great focus calling with the Doom comp. Crucial when you play against a Malga, right? If your focus is split, you are not going through the stat monster that is Malga with his lifesteal.
All right. So it's time for the post-match interview. Jake, who should I interview for today?
Let me think about that.
I'm gonna walk.
Really well?
I'm gonna walk. You guys make the decision and let me know.
Who was one of the best soldiers in the world, playing really well. These are some qualities I like in an interviewee. Very handsome. One of the best players in North America.
There's only one answer to this.
Who could it be?
It's none other than, yes, Merit is here to chat with us after this amazing win. I mean, Merit, great stuff on the server today. Congratulations on getting the win. I just have to start off by asking this question. I think everyone will agree with me. Going into this match, a lot of people expected this to be a very close series, but honestly, Toronto is just too good. You guys beat them 3-0. Are you, honestly, were you surprised by this outcome as well? 자, 일단 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 일단 메리트 선수 어떻게 좀 솔직히 말하자면 많은 분들이 이제 오늘 경기가 굉장히 접전일 것 같다. 되게 가까운 경기가 될 것 같다는 예상을 했지만 그 예상을 다 뒤엎고 토론토가 너무나도 쉽게 3대 빵으로 이제 이 승리를 거두시게 되셨는데요. 좀 이 결과에 대해서 좀 메리트 선수도 경기를 뛰셨지만 좀 이제 좀 놀라셨는지.
일단 저도 이제 접전이 좀 일어날 줄 알았는데 상대가 생각보다 긴장을 많이 한 게 느껴지더라고요. 그래서 쉽게 이긴 것 같습니다.
Yeah. I also did expect it to be a lot closer, but when we're in match, I could sort of feel that our opponents were actually very nervous, and I think that's how it led us to easily overcome them or beat them and get the win. All right. So I just want to sort of hear your how Toronto Defiant prepared for this match against M80. Was there like something special that you guys did before coming into this matchup? 자, 오늘 경기를 위해서 좀 어떻게 좀 특별하게 좀 준비한 게 있었는지. 오늘 경기가 아무래도 방금 메리트 선수가 말씀하셨다시피 어떻게 보면 접전일 수도 있었기 때문에 조금 더 좀 준비하는 걸 좀 특별하게 한 게 있나요?
특별히 한 건 없고 그냥 이번 경기 이제 실수했던 것들 그런 거 잡으면서 그냥 했던 것 같아요.
Nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing really special. The only thing that we did were we look back on our past mistakes, really trying to focus and not to make the same mistakes that we made previously. And I think that's what we did. All right, last but not least, this is actually a question from Jake. Jake really wanted me to ask you this, Merit. What does it feel like to be touched by God? 자, 마지막 질문은 이제 제이크 선수가 꼭 한번 여쭤봐 달라고 했는데 이제 뭐라고 해야 되지? 신의 손결을 받은? 그러니까 좀 이렇게 어떻게 쉽게 말하면은 이렇게 정말 잘하는 너무나 잘해서 좀 이렇게 신의 축복을 받은 좀 기분이 어떠신지.
네, 저는 아직 부족하다고 생각해서 더 연습해서 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I still need to work on a lot of stuff. I still need to improve, so I'm gonna get better and provide you guys with better gameplay. All right, Merritt, thank you so much for the interview, and we'll see you tomorrow. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, when Merritt gets to Dallas, he's gonna take the weights off, and then we're gonna see something. He still needs to train more. All right, bro, like be better. Okay, I don't know how that's possible, but okay, like whatever.
I think I'm gonna keep asking. If he pops up like that again, I'm gonna keep on asking the same question.
This was a big
do you still like if you're this good, if you want to improve, like how? Like, where's the ceiling? Like, how high do you even want to go? How high can you go?
This is how it is at this level. I mean, the competition is so fierce. You heard it from Merritt, right? Like, he felt in the match that the opponents were nervous or weak or vulnerable, and they just pour it on. Everybody feels it. Everybody pours it on, and you that's like the margin you're working with here. If your team gives an inch or people start losing confidence to the point where the enemy team realizes it, they're gonna rip you to pieces. Which shows that when we get these Game 5 bangers, it's incredible, right? For both teams to stay in it in these incredibly close series. It's so easy even for elite players to kind of fall apart and crumble under this pressure, and for the other team to feel it and start to build momentum and confidence. And so I just think it's been incredible that we've gotten close Overwatch, and even more impressive when somebody like Merritt hits a level where he makes the other players on the server look like they're playing bad. I mean, they're not. He's just doing something that I would say you can't really replicate, but maybe Merritt can. Like I'm scared.
Like you said, he's touched by God.
I can't doubt him. I don't want to doubt. I don't want to doubt him anymore.